Hi, I'm Krina Patel. I'm an artist and I teach as well. We are here in my studio making visual memory collages. So as always, I invite you to work alongside me to remember and share your memories. By now we worked on two collages. The first one was on the theme of significant events, where I made a collage of my immigration experience or immigration memory. And the second one was about people, and I made one about my mother, grandmother, and the women in my life. This third collage is going to be on the umbrella theme of place. And I said, as I always say, all these themes are related. So if I think of a place, obviously there will be people involved. And it might be during a season of my life, like it could be during my childhood. And here is a picture of me as a child. So this could be about a place where I grew up or where I was born. It could be a place where I immigrated to, the city I immigrated to, in my case, New York. So let's do what we always do when we are trying to remember. Again, if it was a live event, it would be fun to do a call and response. What we always do is start with a timer. A 10-minute timer to bring ourselves to this place from where we can travel back in time to a particular period of our lives. So what I'm going to do is I am going to set the timer, and it's going to be for 10 minutes. And there we go. It's a timer for 10 minutes. And what I'm going to do is be still or doodle and go back in time. And one way to do it, as I always say, is to activate our senses. Go back to that place. In this case, we are working on the theme of place. So go back to that place which was important to you. What did it look like? What were the sights and the sounds and the smells? And as I always say, the feel of the place, because that emotional tone is what will help us decide how the overall collage will look, what colors we will select, and what shapes we will select. For example, if that place reminds you of a gentle period, then you might select gentler shapes. So let's do that. Okay, so now that we have thought about the place, the next thing to do is this time I'm going to use a blue marker. Why not? We used a black, we used a red. I'm just going to use a blue. It doesn't matter. I'm going to say, I remember on the top of the page. And then once again, I'm going to set the timer for 10 minutes. Set the timer for 10 minutes. It's already set. It's already on my phone. And in these 10 minutes, I'm just going to start writing. Start writing about the place. And I'm going to actually think about Calcutta, the city where I was born. They call it Kolkata now. So it's Calcutta or Kolkata. And I'm just going to, when I was thinking during those 10 minutes, I thought of different places. I thought of Calcutta. I thought of India as a country. I thought of Boston. I thought of New York. I thought of San Francisco. All the places I'd been to, but I'm sort of focusing on Calcutta. So I'm going to just do a memory dump, so to speak, of writing everything about Calcutta. So what I remember about Calcutta. So I remember it as a big city. Again, my famous G, the way I write G. It's a big city, very crowded. But there was something, it was very crowded, but it never felt rushed like New York. I mean, New York is very crowded. I always say it was easy to sort of get used to New York because I grew up in Calcutta, which is also one of the biggest cities in India. But unlike New York, Calcutta has a slower pace to it. And again, emotions, moods. I love to sit with that when I'm remembering. So slower pace, big city, very crowded. Oh, the river. There is a river that runs through it. River Hooghly, it's called Hooghly. The river Hooghly, which is I think part of the Ganges. The bridge. There's a very famous bridge in Calcutta called the Howrah Bridge. Howrah Bridge. The city has. I remember the colors. I remember the sky. It always felt gentle, gentle skies. I remember my family, of course, over there. My school, the buses. And now, see, once you start remembering, it just becomes overwhelming. The taxis, they were yellow and black, just like the New York ones. And then at one point, they became all yellow, black. Like I said, you can fill pages and pages in the 10 minutes. I bet you it's not even been a minute since we started writing. The taxis, the buses. Oh, Calcutta is very famous for hand-pulled rickshaws. Rickshaw, as they say. And the food. Oh, the food in Calcutta. Activating the senses is very important because once you start thinking of what it smelled like, I can literally smell the snacks that we would get on the streets, the street foods. So foods, street food, ice cream, and the name of the company that made that ice cream was Quality with a K. Quality ice cream. Oh my goodness, I mean, I can keep writing. Let me pause for just one quick second and think. Oh, balloons. I remember the balloons that they used to sell. Big. And since I love to draw, I have to draw a big balloon. It was like shaped like an apple. And they would have little like patterns on it. You know, another basic visual element, patterns. And that's a balloon. That's not a pumpkin. And there are these balloons. Okay. There's the sweets in Calcutta. The very famous for sweets, sweet things, sweet food. The festivals. So now that I've made the list, the next thing to do is to focus on just a few things because just in 10 minutes I came up with 43 things. I can't possibly include everything. So I have to narrow it down. And again, just as a reminder, I have the choice of doing a representational collage where I actually have photographs, for example, of Calcutta. Photographs could be from my collection or photographs could be ones I gathered from magazines and so on. Or also it could be photographs that I found on the internet. And I'm just going to also show you that because there are sites where you can get free photographs and then download them and print them out. And so that would be very representational. I could also do a symbolic collage of all the symbols for Calcutta, like gentle I had mentioned. That's one word that comes up. So there could be a symbol for gentleness that I could include. Like, I think dogs are gentle or, you know, like something that stands in for the real thing, basically. I could also make a very abstract piece. And as Petra would say, knowing Krina, she's going to make an abstract piece, which I do like to make abstracts. But anyhow, what I would like to do now is also talk a little bit, once again, about materials. As you know, in collage, we need the basics. We need scissors, we need glue, we need something to glue things down with, like a brush to use with the glue. And we need, of course, lots of different images. One way to organize the images is to have these baggies. I put everything in baggies. So, for example, this baggie is for patterns that I collect. This is a little pattern I have here, and I am going to put all the patterns I collect into this baggie. I have a baggie for words that I might want. So here is a baggie where in one of the earlier episodes, I had cut out this word called free speech. There's welcome. There is hello. These are things that I can possibly use in some other collage. So I'm going to put that in that. And I use always clear bags because it's just easier to see. So this is a bag for text. This is a bag for patterns, and you can have, any number of bags. This is a bag. These are some patterns. I'm going to put this here. And these are some colors. I'll have a bag for all kinds of colors. So that's there. I'm just going to show you what exactly I mean by adding some more. So for colors, this is a big piece of paper, so I'm going to probably fold this, and this will go into the colors bag. You can also have separate bags. For example, a separate bag for all the blues, because there could be this is like creating your own paint box, but in this case, a paint box of paper paints. Actually, I think Henri Matisse used to call it painting with paper, his collages. Let me go through this. Oh, I like this very much, these patterns, these weird animals. They're so weird. I'll put them in my pattern collection because these are really patterns, sort of, you can say. I'm going to put them in my pattern collection. Oh, I was looking for a black coat. Maybe here's black paper. I could have cut out a coat when I was looking for a black coat for the immigration story. So that's another baggie for black color. Well, black color doesn't need a separate baggie, I suppose. I'll put it in this color bag. So you get the drift, I mean, I'm basically organizing all my collage materials according to color and pattern and text. Various ways to organize it, always in clear bags. I also sometimes put them into folders. If the pages are big, I'll just put them into a folder. So I have folders over here in which I can collect bigger pieces of paper, again by color or by text. You can come up with your own organizing system, but basically create a paint box or a palette of your own. Now in this case, as I mentioned, I'm going to go and look for images online. It's a great way to also kind of revisit the place that you've been thinking of. So I just want to look for images on the web now. And one of the sites I go to is called Unsplash, and it says the internet's source of freely usable images. So remember, you need to be very careful. Choose images or go to a site where images are for free. And I'm just going to type into the search box Calcutta or Kolkata, as they say. And I'm just going to see what comes up. Voila! A whole bunch of images about Calcutta. Oh, there is a bridge that I spoke of. Those are the festivals. It's so great to go back to places that have been important to you in your life, even if you go back just down memory lane. So there are images of Kolkata that I can choose. Victoria Memorial, that is famous. It just reminds me so much of my grandfather. The grandfather who passed away when I was just 4, my mother's father. And I remember he would take us for a walk to Victoria Memorial. So I would want to at least have this image and may be included in my collage or not. So that is one way of doing it. Personal collection, adding to your personal collection by looking for images online and having them printed out. So now I have the list of things I remember about the city. I have some images of Calcutta that I found online, and I'm going to do what is another thing that I've mentioned before, and that is to make a sketch. We have made sketches before for other projects, and I'm going to make sketches for this one. So for Calcutta, what would I like? I usually don't like to work from sketches. I just work directly. I find an image and I sort of play with it on the paper and see where I want to put it. I also cut out images from my personal collection of painted papers, which I will also show you. And basically, I just take a large piece of paper and slather paint on it, acrylic paint or any kind of paint. So I also create papers for my personal collection. Over here is a bunch of papers I made, and all I did was really take some drawing paper and put acrylic paint on it. I just, took a big brush and put paint on it, and that's what I did for this one and all these other for all these other papers. I just colored them different colors so that I have them in my personal collection to cut out and make into shapes that I might need for a collage. So I'm going to now make a collage of a place, and I'm going to make a sketch. Usually, like I said, I just cut out the images and start playing with it on the surface that I'm going to stick it on. Usually, again, just as a reminder, a thicker paper than the cutouts, because that way the collage won't warp. So I'm going to make a sketch, but this time I feel like I want to make a sketch. And as I said, the mood for me when I think of Kolkata is always gentle. Also, the river in Kolkata, the river Hooghly, is very important. So again, I'm going to make a gentle sort of river that flows through Kolkata. That would be the river. Another thing that I have written about in my list is the sound of conch shells, what they're called, like sound of shells that they blow in the evening to at dusk, at sunset time, to welcome the gods. And you can hear it from the from the neighbors' homes or your own home, and that sound is very particular to Calcutta in the evenings. So what I do have, it's pretty simple, the shape of a conch. The shell, shape of the shell would probably be something like this. That would be the shape of a shell, I suppose. But I also have a book. I can look for a book. I don't need to be able to draw everything from memory. I do have a book about shells. So here's the book about shells, and I'm just going to look for a shape of the shell. Oh, right away I see one that reminds me of Kolkata, this one here. This particular one here, which actually is like this. Something like that, but it's more gentler, of course, the shape. Oh, and here is one shell, but this doesn't remind me so much. It does. So what happens in Calcutta or Kolkata is that they blow into the shell at the sunset hour, at dusk, to signal that it's the end of the day and to welcome the gods in for the night. And it's a beautiful sound that you can hear echoing across from the homes of neighbors. In my house, we didn't blow it, but I remember it so clearly, hearing it from my neighbor's house. So I do want to include the shape of a shell. So that's what I'm going to do. There's a river. Now I have to, start over again. Actually, I'm going to use this as a reference. So I'm going to use the shell. Now, as I have spoken about the different basic elements of visual design. I've spoken about dots and lines and shapes and colors and even patterns. One important thing that brings all of this together is the composition, how you put things together. And I do a little thing for myself. I always like to frame my composition. In this case, what I could do is frame my composition with a shell, like so. Now that would be the frame for my composition. On this side it would be a shell. It's framed on one side. And then the river. So I think again the river can frame it. I have a very strong composition, as they call it, dramatic composition. The conch shell, the river, or one river bank, one side of the river, the other side of the river. Oh my goodness, this composition is pretty dramatic, but I'm loving it so far. And you know, I also want to include something like a map. So this is very abstract, and the map is also really, it's not really a photo of a place. A map is almost like a symbol, or it represents the place, but it is not a photo. So it's symbolic. So maybe this is a symbolic, abstract kind of composition. I want to include something of the map, and I, specifically for this reason, have this very big atlas right here in front of me, and I'm going to look for. That's India. There it is. So here is the map, and map of India, and Calcutta is on the eastern side. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's right there, and there is a river over here. I mean, there is Calcutta, and there is the river that goes through Calcutta. So I'm going to make a copy. I never like to use originals. I always make copies of things. So I'm going to make a color copy of this, and I'll make two so that I can have one in my personal collection of papers as well. And I'm going to make a copy of this at some point, and then add some of it here in this composition. And what I can also do is use color pencils to sort of see what colors I want. So the river in Kolkata is very interesting. It wasn't like, you think of river as blue, water as blue, but not really, because of all the colors that play off, the reflections and all that. The river in Kolkata, as I remember it, was kind of a light greeny blue. So I'm going to take my color pencil, and this is actually a watercolor pencil. So it's they're called aquarelle sometimes if you want to be fancy, but it's really watercolor pencil. And you can, what I love about this is I feel I can just color it in like as if I was still in kindergarten or in school, and then I can just wash it with water and it'll be like watercolor. So this is the river. It's not that green. It's not like this green, but I'm going to do some blue color on it. So, and then this is my blue watercolor. And so I'll get the river kind of like what I remember it, I don't remember it as bright blue at all. I remember it as kind of a slow moving, gentle moving, bluey, greeny river. I'm just going to take this brush for now to give you an idea of what color I'll get. As I said, it's like watercolor, magic. I always feel like a child when I do this, look magical. There we go. I just picked up the brush that was on the table in front of me. You can use a better brush, but again, materials, I think that collage is a very forgiving, very accessible, very economical way of making something beautiful and expressive. Here we go. That's kind of the color I remember. So there. And I'll make a copy of the map and add that here. And this will be kind of a yellow color. So I'm actually going to go ahead and put that color down so that, not yellow, but kind of yellow, brown, gold. This gives me an idea of what my collage will look like. And in this, I'm just going to use paper cutouts, I have my collection of colored papers. I'm just going to cut it out from there, cut out some of the pieces of the map, and complete this collage. So also, I've asked my friend Jim to be working on the same umbrella theme of place, and in the next episode, we will see what Jim has come up with and how my collage of Calcutta shapes up. So just to summarize, we did the same process that we do always. Set the timer for 10 minutes, remembered something, an experience about the place, the theme of place. Then we wrote it all down, I remember, on top, and then write for another 10 minutes. And then we sort of thought for a while about, or we should think for a while, about how we want to share the story, through representation or through symbolism or through some abstract way. And I also told you very quickly about how I organize my materials in bags, take the clear bags or folders and organize things that way. So I'll see you in the next episode where we will talk to Jim and see what he's come up with, and I'll show you more of my Calcutta collage. See you then. Let's work alongside.